All right, I want to show you how to go about installing a pocket forest. Now, we're standing here in a pocket forest that we actually started last season, and we've been slowly expanding on this little pocket forest. So I'm going to use this opportunity to walk you through some of the basics. I'll be doing a little patch, but just know, when you do a full pocket forest, same steps, just scaled out larger. So, first things first, we want to do a little bit of basic site analysis. Luckily, this is a real easy site. We get lots of sun throughout the growing season and the dormant season. Water is fairly consistent here. We don't have any low areas that hold water. So this is just fairly normal, not worrying too much about what we put in here, except everything is native. Second step is we want to kill existing vegetation. So you can see with all these wood chips around, we've been killing vegetation over the years. But we do have a patch of weeds that are coming up, and I want to use that opportunity to show you how we go about killing the vegetation. So let's go check it out. So here we are. You can kind of see we've got some green briar coming up and some other vegetation. So first thing I'm going to do, I've got some cardboard. This is just stuff I've gotten in the mail. These are packages that we're just using them, Amazon packages and whatnot. I have stripped the packaging tape off of these. Packaging tape is generally not biodegradable, although some of the new tapes are. Like, I believe this new Amazon tape is biodegradable, which is pretty cool. I'm laying these layers of cardboard. Essentially what they do is they prevent these plants from being able to photosynthesize. When the plants are not able to photosynthesize, they begin to die. For a pocket forest, we don't generally need to use any herbicides because the trees and the shrubs that we plant will begin keeping all the weeds and vegetation at bay. So you can see I've got the cardboard laid down. You can do another layer if you'd like. Now, once I have this laid down, I like to add a layer of this stuff. It's called leaf mold. It's phenomenal. This is just literally the leaves from curbside pickup here in Raleigh. We get these for free from the city. This stuff just sits and rots. And when it's partially decomposed, it's called leaf mold. So I like to get about a 2-inch layer on top of the cardboard. And the reason I like this is it just helps add more life. It's going to make richer soil. Makes a better place to plant these young trees. Okay, now you can go deeper if you want. I've got maybe a 1-inch layer on here. I'm aiming for 1 to 2 inches. There's not necessarily a right or wrong way to do this. Ultimately, we just don't want too much depth at the very end because it might make planting the saplings difficult. Next, we're going to add a product called arborist wood chips. Now, you don't necessarily have to have the leaf mold, but you definitely need arborist wood chips. I'm recommending a good 4-inch layer if we have some leaf mold. If no leaf mold, I'd go at least 6. You can go up to 8. I probably wouldn't go past 8. Just mainly, again, we have to get saplings planted later. So if you could go a foot, but then you've got to start peeling wood chips away to get your saplings down. So you just need to be mindful of that. Arborist wood chips, something you can get for free from tree services. This stuff is incredible. This is chipped branches and leaves. Like, this is the good stuff. This and leaf mold make fantastic soil. So I'm just going to spread it on top. Alrighty, so I've got a good thick layer of material. There's some cardboard sticking out. It's not a big deal. All this is gonna just get mushy and rot. Ideally, we should do this maybe 4 to 6 months before planting. So we can't plant here yet. We gotta let this rot and get soft. It'll be nice and easy to get our shovel through there. We'll plant some saplings and we will have created some vegetation control over those green briars, and then we give our saplings that head start they need, start growing up, and eventually shade out all the competing weeds and vegetation. Let's talk now about what we should be doing when we're planting our pocket forest. So, just some things to keep in mind. First of all, we want lots of diversity. So it helps to have species that grow tall, species that stay short, shrubs, add lots of diversity. We want to fill that whole vertical layer with canopy, and we also want to fill the underground layer with lots of different kinds of roots. So diversity is key. Spread out your species. So like, for example, let's say we're using 25 different species, and maybe in the case of this pocket forest, I think there's several hundred trees planted here. So I don't know, we have 5 of each. Try to stage those 5 of each species a little bit away from each other, but you don't want to be super organized. Don't make any plans. Don't sketch out what's going where. Definitely don't do neat rows. Just roughly speaking, we're roughly spreading out our different species, and we're roughly keeping them about 2 feet apart, give or take. This is not exact. We're trying to mimic what happens in nature, and nature is very unexact, and that's the beauty of it. The other thing that's very important is marking your species. I very much recommend that every time you put a sapling in the ground, put a flag next to it. This is going to help you so much with maintenance. As these young trees grow, there's going to come a point at which it's kind of hard to remember which trees are which. Some folks are just fantastic with tree ID, no problem ever. But for many people, it's going to be hard to choose like this tree versus, say, a new oak sapling that's growing that we didn't plant. Maybe we don't want it there. So by putting markers on right next to our species, then the maintenance becomes very simple. Just pull out the trees and the invasive weeds that are not marked. So if something grows right here, I know that I need to pluck it out because it's not this tree and it's not this tree. So markers make maintenance a total breeze. When we do maintenance, and we'll have a separate video on this topic, but just generally speaking, we're just pulling out the trees and invasive species that are not marked with our flags. I will often call these invading or invasive species to try to delineate them. You know, an invasive species would be one that's not from this ecosystem that can disrupt the whole ecosystem, whereas an invading species might be from this ecosystem, you know, a seed from a nearby tree, an oak or a pine or whatever is native to your area, but we still don't want it here. It's not part of what we're trying to create with this pocket forest. So that's sort of the basics. Be an exact, be diverse, spread things out, use markers, and you will make maintenance a total breeze.